What is going on, guys and girls? This is GhostRobo. We are checking out some Tomb Raider multiplayer. I don't even know if everyone knows that this game has multiplayer, but it does, and frankly, we're going to find out, but I am not so hopeful that this thing will turn out to be anything more than a complete pile of crap in about a week when everyone realizes that it's not so hot. Multiplayer in Tomb Raider is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. In fact, it's probably a slice to your pinky finger, which would hurt greatly. This is not a good mode, and it's very, very different from the single player, which I think is fantastic in almost every respect. They decided to include a multiplayer to check, that tick box on the back of their, their games, and so many shooters do this these days, and I don't know why. You're not going to compete with Halo, you're not going to compete with Call of Duty. Sure, there's a niche market for really special kinds of online multiplayer. I think Assassin's Creed does a great job of differentiating themselves. Uncharted even held its own kind of, but this is basically a poor man's version of Uncharted -10, where you are running around shooting guys. You can activate traps that are kind of more confusing and or useless than they are fun, and then most of your time is spent awkwardly jumping around the environments, which is kind of sad because it takes what is a very mechanically fun single-player game and sort of really sours you on a whole lot about Tomb Raider in the multiplayer. Granted, it does not, of course, impact the campaign in any way, shape, or form, and they do borrow quite a bit from the campaign, from climbing to bow usage, to collecting salvage, to leveling up, to traps, but for the most part, you're running around haphazardly, dying from explosions, getting roped up by ropes, which you'll see in a little bit here, and awkwardly shooting guys with imprecise gun controls and some very clunky movement. Now, I die quite a bit in this video. I get a couple cool kills. I use the bow and the submachine gun, and there's a whole loadout system, borrowing from every other multiplayer shooter. We used to say borrowing from Call of Duty, but I don't even think that's fair. I think it's now borrowing from everyone, because every game does this. Where there are loadouts, there are leveling up, you can unlock new perks and stuff, but frankly, if the baseline gameplay isn't fun, it doesn't really matter. Now, it does have a potential to be really good, and I think some of the reasons that Uncharted was cool, that was a nice headshot. Boom, no scope. Some of the reasons Uncharted 3, Uncharted 2, their multiplayer was cool was because of the traversal, how it added kind of an extra element of strategy, of tactics to the gameplay as opposed to just run and gun. But here, most people are trying to get to the highest vantage point and then shooting people down. There are not a whole lot of people playing multiplayer in Tomb Raider, which isn't surprising because, again, it wasn't really advertised. Here I get tied up by a rope and you shoot it down, and this is one of the more fun things in multiplayer. Again, it's completely silly, though. It doesn't hurt you. You can activate traps in order to try and slow down your opponents in order to get them for a kill. And then it's just got a whole awkward interface, too. This is plus 300. You'd think that I gained 300 points, but really it's showing from the perspective of my killer, who is gaining 300 points. You can spawn your friend or spawn at base. I mean, it's so typical, so generic. I can't recommend this to anyone. If I were you, I would buy Tomb Raider because the single player rocks, and then don't even touch the multiplayer unless you're really bored on a Saturday afternoon or want to laugh a bit with your friends. You start in these base camps and then have to sort of zip line in. Cool concept. Again, I just don't know what we could really expect. It's not like Tomb Raider is known as a third-person shooter. It's not like it has some perfect, beautiful, free climbing like Assassin's Creed, so I don't really know what the developers were trying to do here. I would have much rather seen them spend this time building more hidden tombs, or building more side quests for the main game, or maybe some cool single-player story DLC along the way. I will say that this axe is badass in both single-player and multiplayer, and I feel like a pro as I dig that into the walls and climb up here. But a lot of your time, like I said, is spent just kind of standing around. The maps are awkwardly made up. I can't tell if they're too big or just too vertical for 5-on-5, but it seems like there's not a whole lot of action. You play these rounds of 25, 3 rounds of 25, which is fine, I guess, but the rounds I've seen are taking nearly the entire time. The entire 9-10 minutes of the match, which is just awkward. 25 kills in 10 minutes seems strange, and again, here's a perfect instance of I have this bow, but I can't look down perfectly from that angle, so I'm waiting for them to come, and it's just, they're moving all around, and my shots don't even, like, I don't know. I know that some people will get a kick out of this if they're huge Tomb Raider fans or if they have nothing better to play, but really, if you're going to be playing a multiplayer shooter, you owe it to yourself to do Halo 4, or Black Ops 2, or even games like Resistance 3, Killzone 3, Uncharted 3. They have far superior multiplayers, I think. Even Homefront and Medal of Honor I enjoyed more than this. It's just, this is the last time I will play this this mode unless someone pays me. This is a grenade launcher of sorts. You do have a different arsenal of weapons within each loadout, but I never found a need to switch, really. It kind of just got annoying. The bow is good for one-shot kills if you want to get to a high vantage point, and the guns are good if you want to stand on the ground and try to do things. Again, trying to shoot this person and I'm dead. And again, plus 100. Like, did I get plus 100? No, it was that person that got plus 100. So we're going to switch back to the gun after lots of failed experimentation with that bow. And I hate being negative on stuff. I really don't like to. I would be positive, but I'm giving you a fair warning. If anyone was in any way interested in the multiplayer, it is a very big mess. I also had lots of glitching, lots of freezes that hard froze my Xbox 360 entirely, not just the game. And then you'll see at the end of the video here, I was trying to enter the next round, and it completely gave me a GoldenEye-style red screen of bloody death that froze the game and eliminated my chance to continue, probably for the better. It feels like they tried to directly copy Uncharted. I know that a lot of people have sort of leveled that claim at the single player as well, that like, hey, this is like Uncharted so much. I think that they differ enough. I think that the single player of Tomb Raider is stellar and should be easily can hold its own against Uncharted. Doesn't need to be just thought of as an afterthought or a kind of different Uncharted. I think it has a lot of cool mechanics all of its own, and a really fun story, really fun main character. So I don't discount that at all, but this is unnecessary. Why did they add it? And they didn't even advertise it heavily. It's not like they were really pimping it out or going for some big promotion or anything of that nature. So it seems like a complete waste of effort, time, assets, money, and space to me. I would try to give you guys some redeeming factors, but there aren't many. I guess still maneuvering around the environments is kind of cool. You know, ziplining and jumping off. You have a sprint button in multiplayer, a crouch button. So that is kind of okay. But once it gets to the actual gunplay, it's not very precise. Guys take a lot of damage, and again, it feels like a lot of very generic, bad third-person shooters. The traps is kind of a cool idea, although from what I've seen, it doesn't really play out that well. Because you know what to look for to avoid them, and everybody seems to activate everything, so it doesn't make much sense in terms of. It's not like, oh, it's a perk. If traps were perks or like kill streak rewards rather, that would be pretty awesome. But instead, it's just like they're laying around randomly. I played a map that had lightning rods that you activate. There's lots of explosive, and frankly, it feels like a way to just include a lot of cheap kills. You know, right here, I get roped up and die. Otherwise, I probably could have taken those guys down from the higher ground with my teammate. Instead, I am kaput. And similarly, when you run over an explosive and just blow the heck up, that's not a whole lot of fun. It seems like they made a lot of decisions that sounded good on paper, and in execution didn't really fare out too well. There's a bunch of characters unlocked from both the Survivor Camp and the Bad Guys Camp, I guess we'll call them, without spoiling much. You can be characters from the main game. I didn't see a playable Lara. Of course, you can unlock more as you go. But I think they want to encourage you to be different people, otherwise there would be 10 Laras running around the map. Spawning on friends is kind of a cool thing when it works. Half the time you're not able to because people are in firefights or dead themselves, or the game is just screwing up. But this is right here, and this epitomizes Tomb Raider multiplayer. Standing on high vantage points and shooting guys from afar. I was kind of sick and tired of that, so I jumped down into the fray just because I was getting bored. But what I've seen, the successful players, the guys who are level 14, 16, 24 already, they're standing up on the mountaintop and shooting down with the bow or some upgraded gun. That is not my, again, this rope swing thing here. I guess I should know to avoid it. But seriously, I was farmed, apparently, even though it gave me plus. Let's see, it says level up, 250. You'd think that was me. This is the dumbest UI choice I've ever seen in a game. Thank God the round is over. We're going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you appreciate this fair warning that if you had any interest in Tomb Raider for the multiplayer, please stay away. But the single player is great. I definitely wholeheartedly recommend the game from a campaign standpoint. It is great. Hopefully you can check out my walkthrough. Doing a fun thing there with hour-long videos, so it should be a good time. But other than that, this has been Tomb Raider multiplayer. Thanks so much for watching, guys and girls. Have a fantastic day. Drink some hot chocolate. Until next time, we will see you all later. One more quick thing, guys and girls, is that there are a handful of other modes that are objective-based, but again, what really kills and sinks Tomb Raider multiplayer is the mechanical nature of it and the whole overall structure of what they have set up here. So I don't care if they had me running through a funhouse filled with goo balls of applesauce and pineapple yogurt. I don't think it would be fun because, like I said, it boils down to mechanics, and mechanically, it's kind of a really screwy, not-so-hot system. So there are other modes, in case you were wondering. Team Deathmatch is probably the most prominent, but other than that, it's just kind of a mess. Thanks again, guys. See you later.